You're listening to The World According to Jen and Carolyn. Oh, yeah. Thank you for joining us tonight on our live episode about the constitutional crisis that is the Trump administration. We are going to be going through the litany of abuses against the Constitution that the Trump administration has perpetrated, both Trump 1.0 and Trump 2.0.
There's twice.
Yeah. Yes.
Whoopsies.
Double your pleasure, double your shitting on the Constitution.
White women did not get the assignment.
They did not get the assignment, but a lot of people didn't get the assignment.
Yeah.
And it's really crazy. And so for those of us too who are going to be listening to this later on our audio only platforms like Apple and Spotify, there is what we call in the business EMI, electromagnetic interference. We don't know where the fuck it's coming from.
We think it's your fridge.
We think it's the fridge, even though the fridge is silent. This is very sensitive equipment. Feels
very
like
high tech.
Ghostbusters. Very high
It is very high tech. It's our gogometer.
The pod track. Yes. There's a paranormal presence all up in here somewhere, and this is picking it up. We're going to do our best to edit it out. But for those of you joining us live, thank you. You don't got to deal with any of that shit.
Nope.
So, as we said, we're going to be tackling a question that comes up time and time again since 2016, which is which parts of the Constitution has Donald Trump violated or is allegedly alleged to have violated? They are official violations, y'all. Oh, and by the way, I think we need to mention that there is a high probability that we will get censored tonight.
It happens every time. It happened once.
It happened once. Yeah. And
we've only gone live. This is our third time.
Third time going live. Right. And the first time we got censored for hate speech, which made sense because it was reprehensible Republican trivia, which is all predicated on trivia questions around hate speech that was said by Republicans.
Yeah. So very, very hateful.
Right.
Very hateful.
Very hateful shit.
We're also trying to reach 4,000 followers today. We're only 100 away.
Yes.
So if you're not already following, we're going to reset a couple times. Follow us, shoot this off to the TikTok universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shoot it off.
There you go.
Well, no, we're trying to reach 3,000. We are trying to reach 4,000, but we're 100 away from 3,000.
Right.
So 4,000, yes, is the ultimate goal. In fact, more than that. But
I have high goals.
We'll get there. Yes.
Maybe we'll make 5,000 tonight. Who knows?
Shit, who knows? It's up to y'all.
Dream big.
Yes. Dream big or go home. So we want to be clear. There's no official court verified list of constitutional provisions Trump has been found guilty of violating. But over the years, a range of legal scholars, watchdog groups, and even Congress have raised serious questions about whether his actions have conflicted with the Constitution's letter or spirit, right? So
fucking with our spirit, man.
Don't fuck with the spirit of my law, dog. So today we're going to break down the most important, not only constitutional clauses and amendments that have been cited in impeachment proceedings, but also lawsuits, public investigations, all of that nonsense.
All of that.
So,
yeah. And let's talk about why this feels so overwhelming to people too.
Yeah.
Because from a mental health and nervous system perspective, constitutional violations activate.
Don't say trigger anymore. I'm triggered by you using trigger. We're not that woke, you guys. Whatever word you want to use to talk about how this is impacting you.
It is. Yeah.
Go for it,
it's
y'all.
Fucked up. And our threat detection system, aka your nervous system, signals institutional instability. But this is less about everyone's trauma and more about white people awakening to what Black, Indigenous, and other oppressed communities have always known.
Sure.
White people are just simply experiencing constitutional crisis like it's something new. But we know from history, or at least we were educated and educated ourselves.
Right.
This has been going on since prior to the Americas being stolen.
Right. I mean, a lot of people were deliberately excluded from the Constitution, including us. And even though folks have subsequently been included, there have been measures taken by, look at the southern states, look at Jim Crow following, the right to the franchise being granted to Black folks. No, there's going to be a poll tax.
And it seems to always benefit white upper class landowners and money. So,
Yeah.
if you're not doing that, you're probably feeling quite
Excluded.
dysregulated right now.
Yes, exactly. No, I agree.
Weird.
So let's dive in. So let's talk about the Constitution and the presidency, y'all. So let's start with the Constitution itself, specifically a few critical clauses in the main body of the document. Now, I'm not a constitutional scholar.
But you might as well be.
No, I'm not that good. But I do have a bachelor's degree in political science and I have a master's degree in education and I work in local government. So those of y'all who want to come at me and act like I don't know what I'm talking about,
she'll get you.
Oh, no, I got some letters behind my name. I kind of know what I'm talking about. So save that's what they want you to believe.
Who's they?
Miss me with that shit. Miss us with this shit. So, okay. So the Constitution itself, we're going to talk about a few critical clauses in the main body of the document. So let's talk about the Foreign Emoluments Clause, Article 1, Section 9. This clause says that federal officials can't accept gifts or payments from foreign governments without congressional approval. So the allegation, Trump's businesses, especially his DC hotel, received payments from foreign governments while he was president. That could violate this clause. No, not could. It did violate this clause, especially since he never fully divested from those businesses. Poor fucking Jimmy Carter gave up his goddamn peanut farm.
Yes.
And this motherfucker never divested from his businesses. Not only did he not divest from his businesses, but what did he accept recently? Pop quiz, y'all. What did he get that's worth, what was it? $400 million, I think. A plane from Qatar. The plane. It's basically been called a flying palace. It's gaudy in all the right ways, according to Trump. And he's permitted to keep it at the end of the term.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And for the interim, it's going to be work for Air Force One. And the amount of money that's going to be needed to make it secure, which Air Force One needs to be, is astronomical, y'all.
When I want Elon Musk to come in with Doge and say, this is a little repetitive in government spending.
Yeah. Elon's gone and Doge is not going after the right motherfuckers. The people who are the most wasteful when it comes to government spending are not being implicated. But by all means, let's go after Medicare and Medicaid. Right. All right. So Syria reportedly offered Trump Tower in Damascus and mineral rights in return, raising serious ethical concerns. Awesome
corruption that's creating
blatant
moral injuries in the public. Because you hear something like that. I hear something like that and I go, but this isn't fair.
Right.
If these things are written, then why is it's not fair. And again, that's your moral injury is when a core value is violated by someone in power.
Yeah.
And it literally disrupts our brain chemistry and we get a stress response. And again, for white people, this corruption feels really shocking, but we know from reading and educating ourselves, this is something Black bodies have been navigating corrupt, violent systems since day one. This isn't new trauma. It's white people finally seeing.
Yeah. And if white folks had been paying attention for the duration, those of us who are not the 1%, right?
Right.
We would realize that we too are being screwed by the system,
100%.
particularly economically. And that racism is a tool that has been constructed to create imagined differences and imagined conflict between people who don't look like us, but we have way more in common with than say, Donald Trump. And so these systems are very intelligently designed, also very nefarious and terrible, but intelligently designed to make sure that we, who are the majority, don't stand up and say, fuck this shit and burn it all down like that plantation a couple of weeks ago. Burn, bitch! Black Twitter came from that hard. Oh, we're not supposed to call it Twitter anymore, but I'm going to keep calling it Twitter.
Well, no,
Yes. So let's talk about the Domestic Emoluments Clause. This is Article 2, Section 1 of our Constitution. This one's about federal and state money. So the president is only supposed to receive a fixed salary, no bonuses, no state perks, right? The concern that the federal government spent tax dollars at Trump-owned properties, potentially putting him in violation of this rule. Golf. Hella golf, y'all. I've lost track of how much he has spent of our money, taxpayer money, on golf. Not just golf, but as this says, going to his own properties. Yes. He is enriching himself. The grift is real, bitches. All right. What about the take care clause? That's hella Gwyneth Paltrow in that suit. She's like, I wish you well.
I wish you well.
Care.
Take care clause.
What's up with the I wish you well clause? Or rather the take care clause. Article 2, Section 3. The president must take care that the laws be faithfully executed. This clause is about upholding the law. not bending it.
That's all he does.
That's all he does. He bends it to his will and to favor him and other wealthy people.
Yes.
Yes. So, okay. Then we also have, in relation to the take care clause, critics argue that Trump undermined this by interfering in Justice Department investigations and obstructing justice, particularly in connection to the Mueller investigation.
Yes.
That happened. So then we have the impeachment clause, Article 2, Section 4. This one's pretty straightforward, y'all. It allows Congress to remove a president for high crimes and misdemeanors. Motherfucker, it ain't even misdemeanors. It's felonies, dog.
Federal felony rape.
Yes. We have enough criteria based on the Constitution to be able to remove this dog from office. In fact, he should have never been able to run in the first place.
I know we did an episode. I'm going to have to re-listen to it. Still makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Well,
I don't get it.
As you remember, Trump has been impeached twice, one for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress over the Ukraine scandal, and once for incitement of insurrection after the January 6th Capitol riots. And what's that woman who got shot? He gave her family millions of dollars. It's like, hey, maybe you don't break into the Capitol. Maybe you don't threaten to kill Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi. I don't know. Maybe it was justified.
Well, he didn't do that. He says he didn't do that, Jen. He had no idea.
Right.
It's fake news,
That's
right?
what they want you to believe. That's what they want you to believe. All right. So too bad Congress currently consists, by and large, of a bunch of bitches and majority Republicans.
Except for Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Bernie.
Ooh,
and several others.
We love these folks. We do.
This is very traumatic, though. Again, it's feeling like learned helplessness that for sure I think a lot of us are feeling, but it's also for sure a trauma response. And when systems repeatedly fail to protect us, and I feel like this is repeatedly failing to hold this man accountable.
Yeah.
And it's making people feel numb and watch the news, but then feel overwhelmed by the news. It's really toxic. You're not making this up.
No, the amount of people that I just went on a hike with one of my oldest and dearest friends today, and he was saying, I can't turn on the news. It is.
Yeah. I don't. Unless it's once or twice a week.
Right. Well, I mean, we turn on the news because we have to. I mean, I work in local government, which is being impacted by this motherfucker. And we have a podcast that's predicated on politics, current events. And so it's very difficult for us to turn off. And this friend of mine was like, I can't do it. There's this desire to be informed is at odds with our desire to protect ourselves.
Well, and you have to know what, I can read The Atlantic.
Yeah.
I can read certain things. I can go to certain sources, but it's so whitewashed.
Well,
a lot of what I'm hearing too.
It's very,
I'm not watching Fox News, by the way.
Yes. No, none of us
I know
are.
where not to go.
But publications like The Atlantic and Vanity Fair, for instance, and Rolling Stone, they go deep.
Yeah.
And so for us.
Even Vice.
Yeah. And Vice. So for us is coastal liberal elites, bitch, who like a good academic slant to our articles. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
But when you're just digesting the news of the day, which is an assault on our senses, it becomes really overwhelming.
Well, then you hear something and then there's nothing that comes from it. So you're every day it's bam, bam, bam.
There's no resolution.
Then you're hey, whatever happened to that thing? Right. And then you're oh, it's a shit show. Anyway. Well, and then the next day.
Well, that's the 24-hour news cycle for you. And I think that it is predicated on bringing people the latest news and then very quickly moving on for the most part. And so not only is there no resolution or no follow-up, but it's people have short memories.
Yes,
I think
do.
We're like dogs anyway. We're like the dog from Up, where we're oh, fucking squirrel.
I have a very good memory.
Yes. I do as well.
I forget my stuff everywhere.
She's
I know where I left it.
Classic leave behind.
I am.
All right, you guys. So let's talk about the amendments in question. So let's talk about the Bill of Rights. This is very important to me.
Same.
And other constitutional amendments which outline many of the rights of the individual and limit power on government. That's really important to remember. So First Amendment, right? Freedom of speech, press, and assembly. Trump has been accused of trying to suppress the free press. Remember the threats against journalists and lawsuits against media outlets like CNN, still happening, by the way. Cracking down on protests, particularly during the George Floyd uprisings, retaliating against whistleblowers and dissenters inside the government, and also retaliating against people who have the right to be here legally, who are from other countries, who are speaking out against things like, our people treating the Palestinians like shit. So miss us with that anti-Semitic shit. Trying to deport folks who are here legally for speaking out on issues like, dude,
You're
look at
on
the
it.
notes. I'm ahead of it.
And
So-
we want you. I'm not saying they can't have their free speech either.
Right.
Your freedom from and freedom to. It's, it's a not just what you believe, but you can't turn beliefs into legislation. And
No.
we're not, I think that's the disconnect, is that liberals aren't talking about turning our beliefs into legislation.
Well,
we're
we
talking
are
about
actually,
science
but
and
our-
beliefs in humanity.
Sure, but
Yeah.
they're still, and they're not our beliefs. They're predicated on, I mean, there are our beliefs, but they're also predicated on civil rights, human rights,
Yes.
science, etc. And yes, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, but I ain't trying to make my asshole the law of the land. Actually, I kind of am. Y'all got to deal with that. I wonder if we've been cut yet. We can't see.
I know. I don't know. I'm like kind of dying to know.
I know.
But again, white people are
Flying
panicking
blind.
about free speech
Mhm.
and being threatened. And again, this is all stuff that as we're talking about this, we have to continually push through, that it's the surveillance and the criminalization and the silencing. When Jen and Carolyn are getting knocked down, it's bad.
Right. I know. Usually we can say whatever we want. I was telling somebody that I'm surprised I have yet to be punched in the face, given how much
I wouldn't
shit
fuck with you.
I talk.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wouldn't fuck with you.
But I'm
You're
also-
scrappy.
I am
You could
scrappy.
kill me.
I am. I'm from the streets, y'all. But I'm also like a tiny white woman, and people usually give us a pass.
Yeah. But no one's safe now.
But no one's safe.
And I think that's the call to action, is that when white women stand together, that's going to look very different in the news cycle. The news isn't going to perpetuate what happened with the woman who was getting iced by and the white women formed a wall, and they were like, white women are connected.
Yeah. No,
they're not fighting and calling each other bitches.
We're Karens for
watch
good.
out. Karens for good.
Somebody asked me if that was the name of our podcast. I'm like, no, but it kind of should be.
like that.
Right? I would call the manager, but because your civil rights are being violated. So let's talk about the 14th Amendment, y'all. This is the big one, the equal protection and due process. So legal challenges have targeted policies like the Muslim ban. Remember that from his first term? So which courts partially struck down as discriminatory. Thank Christ. The family separation policy at the U.S.-Mexico border, critics argue that it violated due process because it has. And most dramatically, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, the disqualification clause, which some scholars say applies to Trump due to his role in the January 6th riot. Let's call it a riot. Insurrection. So, and obviously what's happening too in trying to revoke people's citizenship.
Yeah.
Birthright citizenship trying to be revoked, which is absolute bullshit. So we're seeing all this Fifth Amendment, due process, immigration enforcement under Trump, often criticized for violating basic due process. Thank you to the judges who have stood up, particularly around deporting Venezuelan migrants in Texas.
Your job.
Yeah, do your fucking job. Sixth Amendment, right to a fair trial. Trump's public interference in criminal trials, like commenting on cases involving allies like that crazy motherfucker, Roger Stone.
Oh my God.
If you have not seen that documentary, I can't remember what it's called, about Roger Stone. This guy is not only nuts, but incredibly influential in all the wrong ways.
Of course.
He is trash. So we have the 10th Amendment. So states' rights, right? The Republicans are all about states' rights, but the 10th Amendment reserves powers not granted to the federal government to the states, and Trump's efforts to overturn state certified election results in 2020 put him at odds with this principle, which is ironic.
Yes.
Given how much the Republicans are like states' rights. And then when it comes to states, certifying an election, Trump's like, fuck states' rights.
It's only when it works for in his bend, but it's turning around to fuck him in the ass, which you would hate. Because no, he would like it.
He would like it.
He probably would. It'd be like some
Stormy.
weird daddy thing.
I want to interview Stormy. Stormy,
Can we?
if
Stormy
you're listening, which is highly unlikely, we
might.
love you, girl. Come to
I'm
us.
so sorry for you. You know what you had to do, but she got paid. But it's fucking them, because then the states are actually saying, "Oh, we're going to use your precedent to actually keep what happened in Denver and sorry, it's end of the day, but
I
with trans rights and saying like, hey, we're going to actually use this against you because the verbiage is there.
Well, it's happening right now with, I believe, the Supreme Court, and the tariff stuff is shit that was used against the Biden administration is now being used against the Trump administration.
Smart people.
It all comes back around,
Smart
bitch.
people.
So let's not forget about the 25th Amendment. So while Trump didn't violate this amendment, it became central to the national conversation around his fitness for office or after January 6th. Some cabinet members reportedly discussed invoking it, and I think they should have.
I invoke
the 25th.
Four corners.
I'm about to go into a fucking John Grisham. Yeah, that was a nice craft reference.
Thank you.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board. So, the 25th, for those of you who don't remember, it outlines procedures for presidential succession and disability and also addresses vice presidential vacancies. So it clarifies that the vice president automatically becomes president, which I'm not sure is something we want if the president is removed, dies, or resigns. It also provides a process for filling a vice presidential vacancy, requiring the president to nominate a new vice president who must be confirmed by both houses of Congress. All right. So because he is so mentally unstable and because of his actions around January 6th, they should have invoked the 25th. But the Republican Party determined he's good for the party. He's unifying the party.
I hate all of you.
Yeah, I know.
I know that's not nice.
I mean, it is such weak sauce shit to prioritize you getting reelected over protecting our democracy and protecting the most vulnerable people in our country. Shame on you, bitches. Where's my shame bell from Game of Thrones?
Well, and he has no loyalty. Like, even if you think that's going to win you loyalty, like, there's no rules in this game anymore. There are no rules unless you're
that's
rich.
The thing. And I believe it was Jon Stewart who was saying, Democrats are so concerned with playing by the rules. And it's like,
we should include Dems in this too.
We should, absolutely. And we're so concerned with playing by the rules, and the Republicans are throwing the rules out the window. Yeah. So it's time for us to take the gloves off. I'm not saying to do anything that violates the Constitution. I'm saying come hard with the Constitution. I just said come hard.
Come hard.
That's
also,
gonna get us out.
We really need 3,000 followers by the end of the night. We're at 2,900. I just said 4,000. We'll say whatever needs to be said.
Well, not whatever needs to be said. It has to be predicated on our principles.
It has to be on our principles.
And we also can't see the comments if they're coming in because our phone is way across the room.
I know. We really need to have a person. Where's Blanca?
I know.
We need a person.
We'll get somebody. We'll get someone in here soon to mediate.
Yes.
So let's talk about the Hatch Act, though. So it's not in the Constitution, but it's federal law. Okay. But it prohibits federal employees from engaging in partisan politics on the job.
Yeah.
I am
beholden.
Can't do
that.
I, as a local government employee, I'm held to the Hatch Act. Theoretically, we are not supposed to be talking about politics, partisan politics on the job. We save that for our lunch hour.
Yeah.
That's when I do all my union activities and I'm like talking shit about Trump. It is on my lunch hour.
Because what would happen if you did? Out of curiosity.
I could get in trouble. I can get fired.
Yeah.
Y'all, I am not even allowed to go to a function that is being held by an organization that my office funds. I can't accept a drink. I can't accept food. I can get in trouble. I sure as shit can't accept a fucking plane.
No.
Ain't nobody's trying to give me a plane, but
there's ethics. It's an ethical obligation so that you're not being...
We are lowly civil servants, and we are very committed to ensuring that we obey the law, because guess what? We could get in trouble and we can lose our jobs and our livelihoods, and because we care about doing the right thing. So the Hatch Act, again, multiple Trump officials were cited for violations, and the Trump administration was criticized for treating the law as optional. They treat every law as optional.
Well, and all of this makes me feel really angry and really unsettled.
Right.
And I feel, again, it's these things where you and I and I think most people in the world follow the rules.
Yes.
And we're okay with those rules because they're protective and they keep law and order.
Yeah.
And if there's something that's going to violate that, there's a process through which we as a country and as a nation have voted to say that, and that's really what the Constitution is. This overarching principle that keeps our collective nervous system in a state of safety. And when this is not happening. So I feel like you and I and everyone else is constantly searching for threats. And I include even Trump people who are on that side. You are constantly in a state of hyperarousal, and that cannot feel good. It doesn't feel good to me. And this anxiety that we're all feeling, again, this is not pathological. It's informed.
Right.
So when we're talking about all this buzzing that's going on, I want to be really clear that many white nervous systems are really now registering that these threats that have been clear to other people that we have not stood by and protected because we thought, oh, well, that's not going to happen to me.
Right.
Well, that's selfish and that's fucked up and
like
that's
the
internalized.
Nazi shit.
First they came, but they're gonna come for you next because ultimately you are standing in their way. Right. And these systems are threats and they've been tracking for generations and it's not new, but the awareness of this reality and the global media breadth and social media and these types of platforms is what's making that connected and also really disconnected.
Yeah, and absolutely. And what you said about following the law, I really have to amplify the words of MLK. And this is just a paraphrase, but talking about if a law is unjust, violate that law. And this isn't what's happening with the Trump administration, but for those of us who go out and protest in the streets and for those of us who are intent on trying really to make America, to make this country actually adhere to these lofty ideals and principles that have been purported since the beginning, albeit omitting certain people, but now, at least on paper in the Constitution, including those people who were initially left out. We are the ones trying to make America great, bitch.
That's the irony of all of this.
Yes.
No one thinks, I don't think America is great if it doesn't include everyone. Right. And that includes the people who I disagree with. I believe you have a right to exist and a right to do what you want to do. You do not have a right to legislate your version of the truth.
Well, if your version of the truth and the legislation that you are supporting is actively punching down on the most vulnerable people, I'm thinking about trans folks in particular, because Jesus Christ, the legislation for such a small portion of the population, so vulnerable, so small, is absolutely ridiculous. It's not only is it ridiculous, it's absolutely wrong and terrible, but it's just, God, it's fucked up. So anywhere there's laws that are tamping down on the rights of trans folks, violate those fucking laws. Yes. We encourage you to violate laws. If we have not been turned off yet, if we have not been censored yet, I will be absolutely shocked. We're encouraging y'all to break laws.
Come on, break laws. Watch us. Give us a like. Give us a follow. We're trying to get to 3,000 follows today. Please.
Come on. We're your favorite white women.
Come on.
We're your favorite. My colleague at work, she wrote a review on Apple and she calls us her favorite white women. And it really is our favorite review. I take
that with a lot of responsibility too.
There is a lot of responsibility inherent in that. So, So what does this all mean, y'all? Yeah. What's our final thought on this shit? Donald Trump has not been criminally convicted of violating the Constitution yet. But that doesn't mean his presidency doesn't test its boundaries and isn't violating the Constitution. In fact, many scholars argue that his actions have exposed the gaps in constitutional enforcement, gaps that Congress, courts, and voters have to reckon with.
Yep.
So,
and this is healing democracy isn't about everyone else's trauma.
Yeah.
It's about white people collectively and all of us collectively finally doing the work that oppressed communities and progressive, what would you call them? Radicals?
They're just progressive people.
Yeah.
People who get it.
Yeah. Communities have been forced to do all along, and they're going to sit out as they should because it is go time. Real co-regulation. Right. Real co-regulation means white people learning from the survival wisdom that has been kept alive by communities of color and Native communities, and who we have to do better. Do better.
We do. And everyone. We can be allies, particularly. And this is the thing. This is why it really bothers me when white women vote Trump and vote Republican. It is aligning yourselves with the patriarchal white power that you think is providing you with safety. Motherfucker, just watch The Handmaid's Tale. Yes. You will very quickly realize, one, Margaret Atwood was onto something, and we're very close to living in this dystopian reality. But two, your proximity to a white male will not keep you safe.
Spoiler alert, he cut off her finger.
Yeah, he did cut off her finger.
Yeah.
But it's, none of us are safe, y'all.
No.
And I think that's the most important thing to remember is that our democracy is at stake. And I completely and totally understand, this is going back to Jon Stewart, that rallying cry.
I love Jon Stewart.
I know. But that rallying cry of our democracy being threatened, which was the primary rallying cry of the Democratic Party when Trump, during the last election, was not enough. Yeah. And it's unfortunate that it wasn't enough. But now that we're seeing what the dismantling of our democracy looks like, now that we're seeing what the rise of authoritarianism actually looks like, are you scared yet? Because we're scared.
I'm scared.
We're scared. We're paying attention. So if you're not scared, it means you're not paying attention. And I don't think anybody who's watching this right now isn't paying attention unless we got some haters on there.
Or we got canceled.
Or we're not even rolling. We're gesturing at a
fake phone. We're talking to ourselves, Jen.
I feel like we're always talking to ourselves, but I feel like our goal is to get censored, because if we're getting censored, that means we're doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
So, these aren't just legal debates, you guys. They're questions about what kind of democracy we want. That's the most important thing. And what kind of power we're willing to let a president wield. This is authoritarianism. This is monarchy type shit. We're not cool with it.
Yeah. And the end of our planet if they keep going.
That's another thing. We have to take into consideration that we have a climate crisis happening all around us, and that, despots and authoritarian, regimes have come and gone. But at this particular point, especially given how dominant America is and how much power we wield, when we're pulling out of things like the Paris Climate Accords and we're saying drill, baby, drill. Thanks, Sarah Palin, you dirty hoe. There are repercussions. There are serious repercussions that are going to impact whether or not my 7-year-old child, whether or not there's actually a future for him.
Mother Nature doesn't give a shit.
No.
Mother Nature is not political.
The stakes are high, y'all. The stakes have never been higher. Keep that in mind. We love y'all. You're going to see me walk around and turn off the camera. But thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we got some likes.
Let's see. You can keep watching me. Here I am.
Keep watching Carolyn.
Keep watching me. Are we still live?
Yeah, I think we are. How do I turn this shit off?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Come here, help me.
Okay, let me help you.
Look, they can see us in the mirror, so it's cool. It's like they're still watching us.
Oh, hi.
What's up, bitches? How do we turn this off?
All right, let's see. I think we touch it.
Touch it.
Oh, man. We've always gotten canceled, so I've never done this.
No, we've done it before. I don't know how to turn it off. Post?
Word?
Oh, there we go. Think?
Pause.
Oh, pause live. Yep. There we go. All right, we're done.